Hello. Thank you for joining us on another Kiss by Fire, not a live stream, because we started off as live streams and we gave up on live streams, so these are not a live streams. I am B Word, and today you will notice that I am not with the lovely StefLyoness as usual, but instead another friend from the fandom, one half of the fabulous Davos Fingers, and longtime patron of Kissed by Fire, Scad. Tell people who you are.
Hi, I'm Scad. Part of the currently on hiatus Davos Fingers podcast. If you don't know who we are, we cover Song of Ice and Fire. We cover this show. We covered the first season. We're on hiatus, so we're not covering this one. We covered Fire and Blood. We covered Dunk and Egg. We covered everything in this series. And currently, other than being on hiatus, we're covering the Kingkiller Chronicle. You can check out any of that content if you like.
Amazing. And I can find you on all the places to find podcasts, right? YouTube and podcast places.
Most places. I feel like we got pulled from Spotify.
Oh,
Anyway, find us at Davos Fingers on Twitter. We can help you out and hook you up with finding the right spots.
Perfect. And if you're looking to if you've just sort of stumbled on this video and you're looking for more Kiss by Fire content, you can find us. We have a Patreon, just Kiss by Fire, or Kiss by Fire on Twitter, Kiss by Fire the podcast, I think. We are the Kiss by Fire podcast on all of the podcast places. Also, I just wanted to say I'm sorry that this episode is coming out a little later than usual. We are a little down to the wire with the new episode of HOTD dropping just tomorrow. But Steph had something very unexpected pop up last minute, and she had to pull out quite suddenly last week. So here we are with Scad. That's the
You
story.
went to the bullpen.
That's
That's not a reference Steph will get, but you're a baseball fan.
Oh, the bullpen.
Going
Yes.
to the bullpen.
Yes, exactly.
Bringing out my live arm.
Yes.
It's ready to go.
Perfect. So, should we dive into the episode? What do we want to talk about this week?
I mean, there's a lot.
There's a lot. It was a big episode. It was really hyped as well. This was maybe the first episode that a lot of people who did get to see it early were tweeting about best television Emmy winning television. Can you tell I'm nervous? I'm a little nervous. Steph is usually like the driver of the conversation, so I'm trying to get in the driver's seat. Anyway, we'll see how it goes.
You're doing just fine.
Thank you. Yes, Emmy winning television apparently this episode. So did you see any of that? The hype online, different people?
I saw the hype. I didn't see anything Emmy worthy. Maybe effects. I thought I liked the episode. I'm not trying to say the episode was bad. I think there have been much better dramatic performances, acting performances, Emmy worthy stuff in this show before. But this episode was epic in different kind of non-Emmy ways to me. But it was very epic television. Just a fantastic piece of entertainment. Yeah.
I think that I'm not trying to be like the pessimist, but I feel like maybe when I see hype like that, I expect so much more.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate it. I almost wish people just wouldn't post about it, because I don't want to have an expectation of this is going to be the grandest thing you've seen on television ever. Because when you walk into it and it's not, or it just isn't what you expected, then it's almost disappointing to like drop off. So
expectation management is huge.
Yeah, yes. Exactly. So it was good. I did enjoy the episode. I've seen a lot of back and forth with a lot of it. I want to just jump into Harrenhal. Let's start sort of near the beginning of the episode.
Sure.
The Daemon stuff at Harrenhal, and just to like preface, we've done this with everyone, but this is spoilers all. You can talk about everything, books, Game of Thrones comparisons, A Song of Ice and Fire comparisons, everything. And I know that in the books, Daemon sort of is lingering at Harrenhal, but he's working on amassing an army or whatever, apparently. And I think it seems a bit more like it's more effective in the books than it has been in the show so far. But it's just weird for me. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. So in Fire and Blood, I'm probably gonna say the books a lot. It's really just the one book for this most of the time. But in Fire and Blood, Daemon he's at Harrenhal actually when he commands Blood and Cheese. He does that. He
Correct.
doesn't go to King's
Yes.
Landing. He
Yeah.
does that through Mysaria, with contacts that he had previously, or contacts she had. That's all organized through Harrenhal. So his dilly-dallying at Harrenhal and amassing the army there, he does take it kind of in a similar way in the books. They don't really put up a fight, but there's nobody really there with him for a little while he kind of amasses them. The army's amassed differently too. A lot of them have already kind of declared for Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
This episode had something where, he tries to get the poor little Tully boy.
Oh my God, to
Um,
smother his grandfather in his sleep. That's
oh
just horrible.
yeah, let's come
Yeah.
back to that
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that was crazy. But later in the episode, he's trying to get the Blackwoods to do it. And they're like, well, how about if you help us with the Brackens first? It's not really in the books. They kind of amass with him,
Yeah.
but he didn't go to Harrenhal kind of like in angst and anger, or even seemingly in angst and anger, with a spat from Rhaenyra about Blood and Cheese.
That we know
He had
of because the narrative of the
well,
books is.
he'd already gone there before Blood and Cheese,
No, I
so it
know.
definitely wasn't the reason he went.
No, but there is still, there is still just the missing narrative of the behind closed door narrator with Fire and Blood. So it's a
Sure.
speculative narrator. So presumably there's no beef between him and Rhaenyra at this point in the books. But
Yeah,
we
I'm not
don't.
even making the argument there's no beef. She may be upset at him, um, but in in the show, it feels like he
Oh,
almost went there and is acting petulantly
yeah.
because she
Well, and
disagreed with his behavior
Alice
and
says
not
it right
sending
to
ravens
him,
back.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
you're hiding from your wife. It's like, oh God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's quite a bit different,
Hmm.
than kind of how it unfolds in the book, but to some degree the weighting is similar, right? He's still trying to amass the army. He's in the book, it's kind of this part of this bigger plan, to kind of draw them out. It
Hmm.
happens much later, and
Yeah.
we don't need to get into it, but to draw the Greens out of King's Landing toward Harrenhal if they amass this big army. Um, but yeah, it's delays, and they're handling the delay differently. In Fire and Blood, they just kind of like, oh yeah, well, he stayed there for a little while, but they give him some really meaty, dramatic stuff here
They
to
do.
work with while he's waiting.
Hmm. But it still feels like one of my biggest things is going to be like, how is he going to react to this? Because he's sitting around on his ass doing nothing, and they've just lost a dragon on their side.
Yeah,
And it's just it's weird for after everything that they've laid out so far for Daemon to be the man of inaction.
yeah,
And he's just sitting there. He wouldn't even eat the peas last week, but he's getting high
yeah.
on Alice Rivers' magic potion
Dumb.
and
Yeah,
failing at building an army. And I'm not impressed. Like I'm I do love the Weirwood dreams. I love, that the fantastical element with that, but I don't love
yeah.
that he's just there.
It feels very take my ball and go home a little bit. He's pouting and petulant and
Hmm.
not participating because things didn't go exactly the way he wanted, with the other
Yeah,
thing. But the mystical stuff is interesting. You and I did a panel, for the uh, COVID year Ice and Fire Con
we
called,
did a virtual panel. Hmm.
Legends of the Night Fort, that
Yes.
got into a kind of a lot of the spooky, mysterious stuff. And Harrenhal has this reputation for being cursed and, all these kinds of things, but you don't get much of any detail. And it's kind of cool to see the House of the Dragon writers flesh that out. It
Yeah.
feels a little long to me, like a little
Yeah.
over involved for what the plot needs, but it is giving Damon, I think, some very interesting things to play with in the future. Alice doesn't in Fire and Blood, Alice doesn't really interact with him at all that we see.
Yeah.
And in this, she's almost, it feels, I don't know what you think, it feels like she's pushing him to want the crown.
I don't know if I got that impression. I think she's good at seeing people. I
Hmm.
think she's calling him out on his bullshit really well.
Hmm.
Um, I think
She,
that she's one of those, you see it a little bit with Aemond and his the sex worker that he visits, right? Like, she's just one of those people who are small folk people who have to observe the Highborn and see what they're all about. And so she reads people really well.
She
And
does.
I think that that's what she's doing with Damon, but also she's trying to needle him. She's trying to get into his head, and I don't know
I
what
mean,
her.
she literally, oh, it's paraphrased, but she literally says to him, "It must be hard for you knowing you could have had the crown, and then this girl who's younger than you having it, and you
Mhm.
being here doing this. It must be hard." Like, those are the kinds of words that are prompting him to act, right? This is Lady Macbethian, right? Prompting Macbeth to act almost. And um, it's interesting. It's giving Alice a much bigger role in this story earlier than we knew about before.
Way
It's
earlier. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of cool. You know, I don't hate it. It's interesting.
Yeah, I think if he's going to be there inefficiently, at least he's there inefficiently in an interesting way, and he's
Yeah,
having these weird dreams and stuff.
but
Um,
for Damon as a character too, I think the future it makes it more complex and maybe more interesting to work through, because does he see the death of Malus and Rhaenys and feel like he could have done something? Does he have guilt about that later when he
yeah,
was
I'm really
stewing over
curious to see what his
the
fallout
crown
will be,
himself? Or
because
it gives him different motivations, right?
it does. Um, and like he has these visions, presumably because of the heart tree bed,
Hmm.
right? That's
It's
what
implied,
she
yeah.
sort of says, right? The bed is the heart tree, which of course every like A Song of Ice and Fire reader is like, the weirwood tree, Jamie's dreams, all the dreams.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, give me
Giddy
more.
about it. Hmm.
Put it in my veins. Um, but yeah, Steph has a note, a big note about Alice's intentions
Ooh,
with
story
Damon.
time.
So we'll get into that in a minute. But I just wanted to talk a little bit before that about some of the visions that he sees.
Mm,
So one of them is Rhaenyra when she's young in the throne room, and she's what I can't remember what she says to him now. I should have noted it better, but she's essentially questioning his authority with him or his intentions with her or whatever, and then he beheads her for talking shit.
yeah, it's actually the very opening of this episode. I think
Yeah,
it's the first thing we see, and I think she says, "You made me,"
yeah.
and it's an interesting
Hmm.
compliment or accusation. Um, but then she's implying that he's now going to try to
Take what's
take
hers,
over, or
take the throne,
yeah.
cuts her head off. Yeah, but
And
then
so
she
he,
keeps talking even after, and I think that's
yes,
really interesting, juxtaposed with him seeing Lena a little while later, just as a
yep,
common serving woman, which is what Rhaenyra was in season one to her dad. Small Council was a serving woman, so there's not serving woman, but she was the cupbearer, right?
yeah.
Um,
I will admit I gave up on thinking about the Lena thing pretty
yeah,
early.
I
I'm
was
like,
I'm totally perplexed. Why is
why
this
does this
here?
mean anything?
Anything. The only
Um,
thing that I connected it to was, like I said, with Rhaenyra having been the cupbearer,
yep,
and so like he's seeing both of his wives in different weird same place roles. But yeah, like why was she even there? And she was pregnant in the vision too, wasn't she?
I don't remember now. Sorry,
I feel like she was.
she
Anyway,
may have been. Yeah, I'm trying to draw some parallels around, his relationship with her and the
but I
fact
think
that
it's
she's
just
now
guilt. I
serving.
think he is having guilt over Rhaenyra. He has guilt over Lena,
eh, Maybe he has guilt over Lana, but yeah, maybe he has guilt over Lana, but
or
he
even
hasn't
his
really
fatherhood.
done anything yet to
No.
Rhaenyra to be super guilty about. I, I mean, okay, well, okay, depends on how far back you're going, right? I mean, you can argue like he groomed her from day one, which
Yeah.
is a valid interpretation. But I mean, like he hasn't undermined her rule yet. He hasn't not setting the ravens is
But he's
bad.
considering it. And
Yes,
his inaction is undermining her. And she already accused him of weakening her claim with the blood and cheese stuff. So
and
he
that's all.
has.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, so he has undermined her in a lot of ways. And that's why he's, gone. So,
But that all, like, Matt Smith is doing a fantastic job.
mhm.
Um, I think this show wants us to really be pulled back and forth with him. I think a lot, um, and and I think this. we don't get this level of, again, there's the whole backroom stuff that we don't get in Fire and Blood, that we don't know what their thoughts are, we don't know what they're really considering. But giving him this guilt about wanting the throne and maybe even thinking about taking it and all this stuff, you don't really see any of that post Rhaenyra marriage, right? It almost seemed not that it's wedded bliss maybe, but you get the impression that he's kind of content with them doing this together. I get that
In
impression from
in the
Fire and
books.
Blood.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree. I
but
agree.
this is a much more interesting journey,
But
I
kind
think, for
of,
the
because he
character.
does have the affair.
That's true.
They
Yeah,
have the
yeah,
fallout. So there's stuff that's
yes,
implied
sure.
where they're not, totally happy
But it
together,
doesn't seem like
but
it's
always
motivated by the crown, though.
right. I was they yeah, they always seem to have some type of like royal partnership implied, that
Yeah,
even if they're not, sexually exclusive, that they are still he's still going to be involved in ruling. I don't know. I think I get the impression in the books that he expects to be her hand or something, like to be someone important in her council.
I actually have a note in my notes here, like, who is the hand for Rhaenyra right now?
She doesn't
Does
have
she?
one.
Yeah,
I would, yeah,
it
yeah,
feel the way I had some. We probably should get back to Steph's note, but I had some concerns and questions about the way the
yeah,
council meetings are going.
yeah.
I
I
feel
want to
like
come to that
Rhaenys
too a
would
little while
just
later.
own that,
I
and
know.
they're like squabbling until Corlys comes in. I'm like, come on. I know I'm wearing the guy's shirt tonight, but like, I feel like Rhaenys would own that room.
Yeah, that's because misogyny.
Well, yeah.
Patriarchy.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um one more thing about the visions, the best vision I think that he has is him wandering through Harrenhal as like Ebenezer Scrooge in his like night dress. Um and he comes out and he's following someone, and it turns around and it's Aemond-ish,
Hmm.
the two of them
Hmm.
combined. What do you think of that? That was, for me, that was easily the best vision. I was like, oh yeah, I like that one.
Why?
Why did I like that one? Because
Uh-huh.
to me, it represented, obviously both of their fates are tied to Harrenhal in this place. They die here.
Mm-hmm.
But also because it's like, do you remember in season one, they have that dinner where they're all together,
Yeah,
and Damon and Aemon sort of
they
size each
face
other up for a
off. Yeah.
second.
Hmm.
And I think they see it like versus like they are
Hmm.
so similar. So I
Yeah.
think for him, he knows, and Alicent even sees it too. Well, you know what Aemond is, she said to Rhaenyra, right?
Hmm.
Um, they're so cut from the same cloth. So he is seeing his like in this other person, his threat, his counter, his villain.
Yeah. In the scene you're talking about from season one, it feels like Aemond is very much looking up to him as the role model and
Mm-hmm.
modeling himself almost after Daemon.
Yeah,
Um, Now Daemon is seeing a mirror of himself with the patch, kind of admitting maybe that they are the same, that Aemond has grown into him, maybe.
yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't know what to make of it other than that. That there is there any sort of compassion about that, or is it just, yep, he's my mirror?
yeah. I thought it was like just even the ties of the two of them to Harrenhal,
Yeah,
and seeing that, and he, it was Aemond that he had sent to be executed, and that failed, and that failure is the reason he's been banished to Harrenhal in the first place. I know,
yeah.
lots of connections there to two characters who aren't on screen very much
Together, you mean?
together. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is this is Steph's post. I kind of want you to read it because I feel like my dyslexia is going to go crazy reading this post.
I can do that if you want.
I
You want me
can
to read
try.
this?
Do you have it?
Okay. Whatever you want to do. What do you?
I'll try, and if I start to get very tongue-tied, I
uh,
will have you take over because I
okay.
do. Sorry, listeners, I'm dyslexic. It gets messy. She says, "Please read this statement exactly as it is." And I really actually just want to skip the first line already.
Well, the first line's important.
Yes.
Skip
It
one in the
says,
middle.
well, it's the end of this line. Okay. I am ill, and therefore what I say is correct, and I will brook no arguments. As I roll my eyes. LOL. The theory, not mine, but gray areas. She has produced an amazing video about this, and you should watch it. That is, Damon is the Green Seer before Bloodraven becomes a Green Seer. Yeah, my dyslexia is going crazy. Sorry. Yeah, is currently my working favorite. Alice is messing with his head. She's testing him and his abilities. You need your sleep if you're going to win this place over. Quote. She's actually talking about the Isle of Faces / Children of the Forest and Green Men, not just Harrenhal and the Riverlands. She's connected to all of them. She's all about the Weirwoods. She may not have given him exactly the Weirwood pace that Bran gets in dance, but it's close to it. Can you take over right there?
Uh-huh. The Weirwood version of Shade of the Evening, if you will. Daemon is having visions. He's seeing stuff. His third eye is being opened. I think this will be why he leaves abruptly to help Rhaenyra in King's Landing. He will get freaked out. That's in caps. I think that should be stressed. He will get freaked out. He will return to finish off Aemond, and while there, making his marks on the heart tree, will experience more shit and things will happen that marks him out as a greenseer. Alice is not on Aemond's side, in my opinion. He kills everyone she knows and beds her and puts a bastard in her belly. She leads him to his death with Daemon. She can see the future and she knows what will happen to Aemond and she takes him to battle. Daemon's body is never found after the fight with Aemond over the God's Eye. Was he taken by the children or green men to the Isle of Faces? And is he in the Weirwood net there? Or under the heart tree at Harrenhal? You will die in this place, says Alice Rivers. Will he die in hundreds of years? At one with the Weirwood net? There are a few parallels with his great-grandson Bloodraven, who also wielded Dark Sister. Check out the theory if you can. Again, that's from Gray Area.
End of statement.
End of statement.
End of statement. What do you think?
Steph, I hope we did that well enough for you.
I did not. She definitely would have said that much more animated and eloquently than me, so I apologize. Don't make me read something, Steph. You know better.
We were talking about this pre-recording. I'm not nearly as into tinfoily stuff. I think this is possible. I tend to think that Daemon isn't. It's every time I rag on Daemon, I get reminded by people that he's George's favorite character. But I just don't think he's that important. I don't think he's that cerebral like Bloodraven is. I don't think he's that forward thinking. I think he's very reactionary and violent, and I don't get that impression from him. Now, if Alice and please, Gray Area, I have not watched the theory, so you may cover all of this. I should have watched it before I prepped. I was under a little bit of time constraints, but maybe this is addressed in the video. But if Alice is kind of working with him to be that part and they're kind of doing some of this stuff together, maybe that makes a little bit more sense to me. But it's not something I see in Daemon himself. So that's my first take. But Alice playing Aemond, it's certainly interesting. It's maybe more interesting than them just kind of falling in love when Aemond visits later. So I don't hate that part.
I don't. It's not. It's not for me either. Tinfoil, this is like the big thing on our podcast is, Steph is very like into this stuff, and there is some tinfoil that I like. So in this particular theory, I agree with you. Daemon just isn't cerebral, as you put it. He's not. Yeah, he's not like he's reactive. He's not intuitive. He doesn't do things in a thoughtful way. And I
His
think
response in season 1 to getting that letter was to go single-handedly invade the crab thing.
Yeah, and beat the shit out of the messenger first.
Yes, beat the shit out of the messenger reaction, and then go storm. When I believe the promise was given that they would come help.
Yeah,
instead of he got angry about that.
He got Daddy's attention, and then he didn't want it anymore.
And reacted and went like he's a very reactionary kind of non-planning, non-visiony guy.
I think that this role as like the ultimate seer in the series is a thoughtful one. It's one that I mean, Bran and Bloodraven are very different than Daemon, and I don't think that they're anywhere near that same level of thoughtfulness or connectedness. Daemon has not shown any other connections that we've seen to Dragon Dreams or anything.
And Rhaegar too.
And right, yeah. So it doesn't connect that well to me. Now, mentioning that they didn't find his body, Rhaegar's body also was not found
It's an interesting
at
tie.
the and there's a few times where bodies come up and it's like they're not found. Where did they go? And of course, um, we have your co-host Matt who loves the Mantis Rhaegar theory. So and that's another Targaryen who ended up at the Wall and then beyond. So there are connections, there's ties, missing bodies, missing links. It's not impossible. Um, just for me, it's just not Daemon's character at all. And whether Alice is Aemond coming into the picture is going to be really interesting. I don't think, again, I said it earlier, like Alice is one of those people who watches people. She reads people really well, and I think Aemond already has someone in his life like that in King's Landing. So I think he's going to connect to Alice for the same reasons he connects to the brothel worker that he goes to see. He's going to find something in her that makes him feel comfortable. I've said before it's gonna be like a breastfeeding thing. She's gonna be like, ooh, she was a wet nurse at Harrenhal in the books, and so he's got a bit of a mommy complex in the show. So that's my little prediction. It's gonna have his little breastfeeding kink, possible. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think either of them are necessarily connected to beyond here. But it is interesting that they fall, in the the God's Eye and stuff like that. That's
Mm-hmm.
interesting with the Isle of Faces so close. So, but him having the weirwood stuff and the Isle of Faces being literally all weirwood. I mean, I wonder if we'll even see the Isle of Faces. How cool would that be?
It would be very cool.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be very cool. I feel like someone probably has, but there could be a whole episode on the mommy complex of all three of Allison's children.
And Allison herself.
And Allison herself. True.
Yeah.
Um, and Rhaenyra, maybe. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moving on.
Moving on. Yes. Okay, so where do we go? What else? So, I mean, obviously, we have the giant battle, but I don't want to skip over the things that happen in between. Um,
Well, there's some really interesting Aegon stuff,
mhm.
and his interaction with Aemond and Allison too.
Yep, there is. And Allison's plan B, big one in the show. The moon tea, the plan B. You're rolling your eyes. Talk about it. Talk about it.
Well, I don't have any problem with her taking moon tea, tansy tea. I have a problem with a character as cerebral as we've been shown that Allison is, leaving the jar out for just anybody to find.
I know.
It's inane. It's one of the dumbest pieces of writing I've seen on TV in a long time. If they
Yeah,
want us to believe that Allison is a
intelligent.
reasonably clear thinking person, they
Yeah.
would not have her do that.
Well, there's a few things happening. Allison is an intelligent woman,
I
obviously.
agree.
She is a clear thinking person. However, a lot of shit's gone down recently, and
Sure.
I think we're supposed to see her starting to fray.
I agree with that. I think this is too far. It's a symbol. It's if that's what they're trying to show us, I think they showed us something that she wouldn't have let happen.
I
There are
agree.
other things that can cause and I think they do give us other things that show the fraying.
Mhm.
Um, but
Yeah. Do
that
you
seemed like a
think
mistake she wouldn't make to me.
do you think she was pregnant, or do you think she thought she was, or just was taking it precautionary because she's
I think she's probably pregnant.
Ooh,
I mean, she's been pregnant before. She knows
yeah.
what it feels like. I think she probably knows. It's funny, I reading The Song of Ice and Fire, I kind of always assumed that the tansy tea was more of like a morning after thing, like oh, we should do this now and take it every week,
Yeah.
not oh, I see the signs, I
Right.
better take this
Yeah,
now.
because even Rhaenyra in season one gets it like the next
Hmm.
day, right?
Right. So it feels late. Aowen noted, she's like, she's showing. She
Interesting.
Aemond felt she was showing already,
Hmm.
and I was like, oh, that's weird. I feel like they usually take that earlier than that. I said that to her while we were watching it,
Hmm.
but Anyway, I didn't love that. I like a lot of this stuff they did with Allison this episode, though. I
I
think the
didn't.
dive into his you didn't?
I like the history. I mean, obviously she's trying to research what Rhaenyra told her, but the
Yeah.
all of that moon tea crap, I didn't like it. I mean, yeah, obviously she's gonna be taking moon tea. Lining it up that she could be pregnant, I think, was just not necessary.
No,
Um,
it's more the history and what's going on in her headspace with the
yeah,
dragon that she's
yeah.
dropping, all that stuff. I feel like after that conversation with Rhaenyra last episode, she's, she said it's too late. That, she didn't say
Yeah,
this,
it's already started. She can't,
paraphrasing, but
she
the
knows she
die is
can't rein in her
cast.
kids now.
Right,
No one's there to
exactly.
do it. So
And
that's
what
it.
it's almost like she's looking at the histories to get either closure, right? Like, I was wrong and I know it. Yes, the die's been cast, but at least I know I'm wrong and
Hmm.
I can just let it die.
Yeah.
Or an argument to bring her back. But it feels like no, this could have been, there is no evidence of a Song of Ice and Fire. This was a lie, and Rainier is just trying to fool me or
I
something,
think yeah,
right?
she's looking for proof of the prophecy. She swore on the life of her mother, like Rhaenyra did, when
Hmm.
she lied to Allison before. Allison feels she lied to her before, so they've made that a complex loop
Yes.
around. So she's definitely just trying to suss out and see if she can even trust Rhaenyra. So if she can find something to say, I can trust you, then maybe they can find a middle ground later down the line somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't feel with Alicent, yeah, like her leaving the thing out and Laurie's coming in and seeing it. I don't think she expected anyone to come in and see the bottle. But all of that was just I didn't under I was like, why is it even happening? It's just meant to, I feel like, undermine her authority and her presence there. And I didn't like that. And I
I
feel
think
like it's my
Go ahead.
biggest maybe complaint with the way they've treated Allison this season is, she wasn't in the books. I talked about this before. She's very present for Blood and Cheese. She's not present in this, and she's, off having sex, and she seems like just this wanton woman. And this sort of is the same thing. Well, this is you're off having sex with Kristen Cole, and now you can't be present for all these other things. And
I,
I just don't like it. And she also, like, I guess it's sort of turnabout because she undermined Rhaenyra when she started to lactate in season one, in the small council, like milk. And so maybe it's like the turnaround of that, but I just hate it. I just like, I don't know, write
I,
two good female characters without undermining them with sex and pregnancy and telling them they can't have the role because they're pregnant.
I, th- I think I understand all that. That makes sense. Especially from a female perspective, I understand why that would frustrate you. It's not really the way I think about it. I think that Alicent she's resigned. She says the significance of Viserys' intentions died with him.
Yeah.
And I
It's a good
think,
conversation between her and Loris for sure. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think you're going to hate it.
Uh-oh.
You're going to hate it. I think she sees that her significance also died with him. Aegon is now in charge. She put him there. They've got a king. Like, he fired your dad, who kind of was a tie still to significance because he and you had a dynamic that you worked together. But
Hmm.
I think she sees her significance waning as well, her influence, maybe not her significance, but her influence waning as well. And she's just kind of resigned to it. And to some degree, she takes that out on Aegon in this conversation, where instead of, using the significance and influence that she still does have and could have with her children, she tears him down. And
Yeah.
Aegon sucks, I know, but she could try to uplift him and make him better instead of tearing him down,
I
right?
agree. I've said that. I have that in here somewhere, even in my notes.
Did I steal your note? I think I stole your note.
Um, yeah, I have the way Allison talks to Aegon. It's awful. Like, she knows how to talk to people. She could be
Yeah,
stroking his ego rather than tearing him down. You're so important, Aegon. We can't risk your safety. You can't fly off and do these things, right? You're the king. You just need to listen and learn, and it's just there's
yeah,
ways to talk to any parent knows there's a lot of the times when you're like, okay, that's stupid. You can't do that.
yep,
But you don't say that to your kid. You say, okay, well, this is why we don't do that, right?
yeah.
And you educate. And she's not doing that. She's just expecting him to already know that. And I don't like it. And I feel like Steph has a note in here too that I just want to make sure her voice is heard where it can be. This is Steph's note. Allison's, no one cares what you think. Just be quiet, look pretty, and do what you're told. You didn't earn your place. No one wants your opinion. Speech to Aegon is harsh, and I love it, she says. But I said she's kind of treating Aegon like Otto treated her when she was young. Like,
Yeah,
you're just using her as a pawn to get your family to where it needs to go. Break the cycle. Be something different, And
right.
Rhaenyra, in contrast, is not doing that with her kids. She is holding Jace back, and he's getting frustrated. She's maybe not explaining as well why, but I think it's evident in this case, in Jace's case, like, your brother flew off and he didn't come back. So no, you're not going anywhere. But
Yeah,
yeah,
which is the same sentiment he expresses to her.
yeah.
You're not good.
You're
My
not going
brother flew
anywhere
off.
either. Yeah.
My brother flew off and didn't come back. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
This whole thing hinges on you, which
Yeah.
I have quibbles about that also. But
We'll
I
get
think you
there.
and I have fought about that before. Um, but but yeah, I think with Alicent, it's this is a hard phase for her. It's made worse by this pregnancy that she's dealing with. It's made worse by the fact that, her ties to power, her husband Viserys, who's dead, her father, who was the hand of the king, who's
Mhm.
been dismissed, and her new boy toy that has left the keep to go make war. All of her kind of trappings of power, men previously,
Mhm.
right, have left, and that's a hard pill for her to swallow.
She didn't seem all that
And
broken up about Kristen leaving.
she's, I mean, that relationship is very complicated.
Yeah,
I
it's true.
mean, there are parts of her that miss him very much, I'm
Yeah, yeah.
sure.
The parts beneath the navel, yes. But maybe being if she is pregnant, and I still am like, I don't know. I just don't with the pregnancy, I just don't see the point of it. Either way, if she was or not, it's not really relevant. She's not anymore, so
I agree.
it doesn't really matter
Yeah, I think I agree.
long-term relevance. But yeah, especially if she is pregnant and she's like, oh God, this guy. Ugh. Yeah,
I mean, Kristen
maybe a little
sucks. It's hard
frazzled.
to imagine anyone missing him.
Kristen sucks. Yeah.
He's doing a great job. The actor's doing a great job
He is
because
doing
I
great.
hate
I
because
love
I hate
Fabian
Kristen
Frankel. He's
Cole.
great. He's also like extremely attractive. So they've cast him very well. It's hard to hate him at first, and then he starts talking, and then you're like, oh yeah, this guy.
I
Um
never found it difficult to hate him, attractive or not.
I liked him in season one. And
I just never felt like he had any charisma really. He's attractive, like check the boxes, right? Like he's attractive, but
yeah.
like I find Aegon much harder to hate. He's incredibly flawed, a
Oh yeah,
complete
yeah. But
a-hole. He's a rapist. I mean,
mhm.
I think you
Mhm.
brought that up on Twitter. I saw,
Mhm.
um, but I find it much harder to hate him because he does have parts about him that are charismatic. Cole doesn't give me any of that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, I think it's great that Alicent is finally getting an orgasm, and I mean, why take that away from the poor woman,
Sure,
It's important.
it's,
Um,
man, that's Viserys' sexual nature erasure right there.
Listen, it was obviously not fulfilling for her in any
I
way,
just
shape, or form.
I just do want to point out, not that sexual quality is always tied to age, but he was like 30 in the book. I just want to point that out every time I can. They
Mhm.
aged him up ridiculously in this show,
Yeah, but
and it
yes, but
made that
the age
relationship
difference,
way grosser and worse than it was.
the age,
Aged her down and aged him up.
no, her age was still quite young. She was
She
a
was
little bit older
21
than
and he was
Rhaenyra.
30.
Okay, yeah, but still.
It's still, yeah, I mean, I've got friends at that exact,
Listen, the man
yeah,
was
but
rotting when they started to sleep together.
yeah.
She was not dialed into that relationship.
I,
Daddy told me to.
mm-hmm. There were, okay, well, when Davos Fingers covered this, we spent a lot of time on that relationship. I think there was a lot to that relationship that they both got out of it, and maybe it wasn't sexually pleasing at all for her. We saw a lot of evidence for that,
Yeah.
but there was a lot. There was a lot there between them of respect and
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
understanding that I think they
My
both
point of this
benefited.
was not that I think that if she had the trust in everything that she had with Viserys, with the orgasm she's having with Kristen, it would have been fine. But she didn't have
Yes,
that. Right?
yes, hmm,
So, yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, I don't hate it. I don't hate the Alice and Kristen Yeah, the mustache rides. Anyway.
I hate it because I hate him.
Yeah, I know. That's the entire fandom. I feel like I'm one of like 3 people out there that's like, get it,
I'm not her
Allison.
biggest fan either, but I'm celebrating the fact that she's getting some pleasure. But
Yes. Yeah.
I hate him so
It's
much that
important.
I can't enjoy it.
Yeah. I don't know. Their sex scenes are kind of hot. There's something to it. I don't know. I don't hate it.
All right.
I don't hate it. All right. Moving along.
We spent entirely too long on that.
That's what she said. Okay.
Do you want
Funny.
to talk
Oh
about any of the
yeah, this one
council
was good.
stuff? Oh,
What was that?
any of the council stuff?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was gonna jump to is Aegon having a hard time feeling heard and being understood, and also there's just the fact that he's useless on the council and everyone's trying to make plans around him and he can't stand it. But I think it's funny that Aegon has the same problem Viserys had. They both have a daemon in their life. They both have the brother who is undermining everything they do, or no one can get along with, or
Yeah.
wants the throne more than
Yeah.
they want to be beside it. Yeah.
Yeah, Viserys had positive qualities to a degree that allowed him to succeed, at least in the show. In the book, Viserys was really kind of a weak
Empty.
puppety,
Yeah.
empty.
He was Otto's puppet, really.
He was a beer keg.
Yeah.
Yeah, Otto kind of ran the show.
Yeah.
But in House of the Dragon, he's a capable, caring at least. He bungles some things. He's bad at making decisions, keeping people under control, but he's a capable guy, and
In the show, he's excellent.
certainly meant
He's
well. Yeah.
one of the best characters, I think, that had been written and fleshed out for the show.
But he still had
I can't
Daemon
think of anyone
undermining
that
him.
they've done better. Yeah,
Like you said.
absolutely. Yeah.
So Aegon has his Daemon, Aemond undermining him, and doesn't have any of the positive stuff.
Well, and he got rid of Otto
So-
to try and rein in the
Right,
daemon, right?
right.
It's like, what are you gonna do now?
Yeah, so he's struggling. But
Yeah.
also he's not trying very hard. I mean, that's part of Allison's point, is like, I hoped you'd learn,
Yeah,
and
just putting on
listen.
the crown. Do you think putting on the crown just imbibes you with wisdom? Like you have
Right.
you're a kid. You have a lot of learning to do.
I mean, there's the scene where he's spinning the ball thing around the.
Yeah. He's just
I
everyone's
still don't know what the
talking
hell
around
those things
him.
are for, by the way.
It's
I
like
wish
their
they'd
clock-in
explain.
card.
Okay, but like
Like the council's in session.
Can't just sitting in the seat be your clock-in card?
Well, I guess it's like
There are no cloaks of invisibility here, Harry.
I thought it was kind of cute what they
Okay.
did with it, but it was, I guess the show writer said it was like, yeah, like the clock-ins, and the king was supposed to be the last one to put his ball in, and when the king put it in, it was like, okay, council is in session now.
So if that's the case, kind of interesting that he's
Yeah, he's fucking around with the ball.
He's only partially there.
Yeah.
All right.
And
now
no
I like
one's
it.
even
You
paying
got
any
me.
attention to the fact that he's not clocked in.
Right.
And they're all doing their thing. And that just shows how irrelevant he is to the council, right?
Right. And then the Valyrian thing, I know people lost their shit about it on Twitter. Like it's just another indication to me that like he never put the work in.
No.
Ever in any way to be
but
good at this.
And in his defense, he never wanted to be the king. He never thought he was going to be the king.
Yeah.
And when Allison comes to him and says, "You're going to be king," he's like, "My sister's crown. Like she's the heir. I don't want it." Like it was, so he didn't. Yeah, he should have put the work in to understand his family and everything. Of course, like educate yourself and be a good human being. But he always just.
Yeah.
He didn't anticipate this role. So he didn't try and, educate for the job.
Another argument then, ipso facto, that Aemond was planning always to be a dick and take control. Because he could pay attention to all these things.
Wanted to please everybody though, right? And like Aemond was the bullied kid. He didn't have the dragon at first. So if he wanted to feel connected to his roots in any way, or prove that he was a Targaryen in any way other than appearance, if he didn't have a dragon, he had to speak the language at least, right?
In the show, that's certainly true. I didn't get any of that bullying sense in Fire and Blood.
No.
He didn't have a dragon though. You're right about that part for sure. But
yeah. That's my little psychoanalysis of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. After blah, 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 I'll be fine. It's only like 1:04 in the morning. After Blood and Cheese, the showrunners came out and said that Maelor, who is the youngest child of Aegon and Helena, is still going to be a part of the series. He's just not here yet. And of course, when you think of that, it gets kind of gross because Helena, I would argue, is probably ace, like on the ace spectrum. Like she said in season 1 that, it's not
Yep.
that bad being a wife unless he, gets drunk and crawls into your bed sometimes. Haha, like
Yes.
poor thing. So there was this moment in the episode after Blood and Cheese where she's passing Aegon on the stairs and they kind of make eye contact and she stops. To me, it kind of looked like she was hoping that he would say something to her. They would have a moment, but he just kind of glances at her and then keeps walking. So I'm curious and terrified for her that if Maelor is supposed to happen,
What that is.
how that's going to happen. And
Yeah.
so I speculated it was fiery. It got very fiery that maybe she and Aemond would strike something up and maybe Maelor would actually be Aemond's child and not Aegon's child. Maybe. You hate it. I can see you.
I don't know that I hate it. I mean, anybody that's ever listened to my stuff knows that anytime there's differences between show and book, my brain's always working on them. Always working on them. Why
Yeah.
would they change it? All that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. That also in this case, though, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a difference. It just means it's something that wasn't known, right? That's like we talked about earlier, just the absent narration. No one's in the bedchambers.
No, it changes a lot because in Fire and Blood, when after
Maelor being present at all, yes, you're right.
Maelor not being there already means that she is. If you take her journey from this point in Fire and Blood, she is grief stricken to the point of barely functional. And so that change. So in my head, I'm going there with when you say I hate it. Well, her and Aemond, I don't know. I mean, I don't like Aemond, but he's probably nicer. I mean, we've seen he's gentler with the women he's with than Aegon probably is. So maybe it's better for her than Aegon. I don't know if I want to spend a bunch of time dissecting that really, but it means that whatever. I don't know. Maybe she is grief stricken. He can comfort her with with tenderness or something.
There is a scene of the two of them in the throne room together. It seems like it's her. It's Aemond for sure, and then it looks like the back of Helena's head.
But I don't like the idea of Maelor being born in her grief-stricken state.
I know
the way Fire and Blood has it. I also just I'm Maelor
has a terrible fate.
Yeah, I don't know what purpose he's really going to serve. They don't need him.
Yeah, that's what I had thought the same. And it's not really like me to say, don't bring in this character.
Yeah.
But in Maelor's case, it's not good. So I wouldn't hate it if they just didn't bring him in at all.
Well, it does
I would say that if you think of Aemond possibly being the father of Maelor, that when she names him as the child to die in the book, it could be because he's not actually the king's son. It just adds another element of like maybe that's
interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. If that's the case in Fire and Blood. Yeah, that's true. I guess what it might do, just having just off the cuff, I guess, if Aemond has a son with Helena, giving maybe it gives her something more to live for. It would make her future suicide worse, because she does have these kids to live for, or this Jaehaera as well still, but anyway, she would have that to live for, but also it would give Aemond some different perspective as well, right, about having a child and
legacy.
Yes.
Yeah, it would give him a reason to and we see to like in the
throne, which we see here, right?
Exactly.
He seems to have some.
Yeah.
In Fire and Blood, it's not. He does take over after this Rook's Rest incident.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem. It doesn't seem like a power grab. He's like, yeah, I got to step up.
I feel like it does seem power grabby. They make it pretty clear that he enjoys the seat and says a few times that he is better suited to it than Aegon. Yeah.
I did some rereading. I didn't see that today, but
I listened to it the other day.
Okay.
And that comes up.
Okay.
Stef added, on the subject of Helena, I just want more of her. I love her scenes. I think she's awesome. Can we just get a whole season about her called Helena? And
I
we
don't know
just
if I
see her
want that.
dreams and her prophecies and listen to her chat about her thoughts and stuff. And it's a musical, like the Buffy musical episode. Maybe, maybe not. I
Jeez.
just want more Helena. We didn't see her in this episode. We didn't. But yeah,
Yeah, it's
she's wonderful.
it's one of the things I think the show has done best, right?
Oh God, and her
And
dragon dreams, like that's the best change that they've made
yeah,
by a landslide. It just makes it so much more interesting. And the fact that she had those dreams and Viserys was so obsessed with dragon dreams and it was right under his nose all along.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
He
amazing.
she it's been said lots of times, but the real strength to me of this show is that they get a tremendous roadmap to which they can choose to fill in the gaps. And to book truthers like me, it's hard sometimes to watch how they decide to fill them in.
Yeah,
But when they get something so good like this, it really needs to be mentioned, right? I mean,
yeah,
they've really knocked it out of the park with giving her more and making her just a deeper character. Yeah, she's
yeah.
lovely, and the
It's great.
actress, I've misplaced her name now, but
Thea,
fantastic.
Thea, Thea, Phia. I don't
Okay.
remember her last name though. Yes, she's phenomenal. Steph and I have talked about how with that sort of, I don't even want to say unreliable narrator because it's so much more than that in Fire and Blood. It's just like
It's
a
just
history
omission.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, absent narration, filling in the
Yeah.
blanks. It's like the game of Clue. We know that these things happened and where,
Hmm.
no, but not always what transpired to how it got there. So you can follow your own path and pick your own motives, and it's interesting for storytelling. I like it a lot, and I like that it has a beginning and an end. But fleshing out the details of how you get there it's been fascinating. It's been fun to watch and as a book reader not know what's
Yeah.
going to happen.
It
Some of the major points. We knew Rhaenys was going to die, but you don't know how everything's going to get there.
you've got two cities on your map, and
Yeah,
you're on a road named, House of the Dragon Road, and it stops at these points,
yeah,
but you don't know exactly the path the road takes to hit
exactly.
them all.
Yeah.
And the way they fill that out, um, there are hits and misses for me, but a
Mm,
lot more hits, I think. They do a good job with it.
they do. They do. All right. Do you have more to say about the council session or
No, I don't think so. I mean,
anything else there?
I don't know how long you want to go.
I know. I'm good.
Rhaenyra has one of her own,
She
with
does.
some
Yes.
stuff
Yeah. Yeah.
with Jace, and others. I don't know if you want to talk about that one
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Get in there. What you got to say about it? I don't
Well,
have notes on that one, but I imagine I know where you're going to go.
well, I her absence is weird. In Fire and Blood, her absence is somewhat frustrating, but it's about grief. I mean, it's hard to judge her too harshly. She's had a miscarriage recently. She lost her
It's not even a
child.
miscarriage. She has a stillborn.
Stillborn, yes,
Yeah.
sorry, my mistake, sorry. Lost her son, as well, dealing with all these things, and so she's just grief stricken and
Yeah.
kind of absent and not really able
But
to
also
direct
physically
things.
in abs she's physically not able. She's given birth to a dead child. She's
Yeah,
physically not able to do a lot.
yeah, for a
Yeah.
time, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Yep.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I was frustrated. I do have a little note on this, and it's just like I talked last week about the pacing and how I've struggled a little bit with the pacing of this season. And I think I have like the time is less clear this time.
Hmm.
Where last season like all of this is happening. Viserys died like 2 weeks ago. Like that's how fast all this is moving. And you
Yep.
don't really realize it because they don't, in my opinion, jump back to the events very well. Well, this just happens. So it's not like and Steph has a really good point with the pacing. I'm rambling right now. So she's recovering from Rosinia's birth, and that's why she couldn't go to Rick's Rest or whatever, fly places or whatever. But Steph said, my issue with the pacing is that Rhaenyra was in King's Landing for days, like maybe. Why?
Hmm.
It took her a
Yeah.
moment to get there. And
Yeah.
then everyone's asking where she is and how long she's going to be away. It takes her ages to get back.
Hmm.
And in that time, Cole has marched and taken loads of the crown lands in a really short span of time. So she said, I know Rosby and Stokeworth are near to King's Landing, but something about it does seem super quick for him to get from there all the way to Duskendale, take all the castles along the way, in the amount of time that it takes Rhaenyra to go to King's Landing, have a conversation, and get back.
Completely agree.
Yeah,
It's broken.
it's yucky. I don't
I
like it.
think Game of Thrones has a history of not caring about travel times and timelines and how they actually line up. I think it's evident here. It's bad. I
Yeah,
can't defend it.
no,
It would not take her as long to
Daemon
sail to
goes to
King's.
King's Landing, hires Blood and Cheese, and gets back again before Rhaenyra even knows he left.
Yes.
Yeah,
Presumably he took his dragon, which would make it go
true.
faster.
Maybe, but like I
Yeah,
don't know if
we
he
don't know.
even, I think he took a boat. Didn't
Oh,
they
did
say
he?
he took a boat? Because he
Yeah, I
couldn't have
think he
flown
did take a
Caraxes
boat.
in.
I think they show him take a boat. Yeah. So yeah, I can't remember. I think they show him take a boat.
Yeah.
You're right. It doesn't make sense. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. And
So,
and also are we really to believe it makes it seem like Damon's kind of hunkering down in Harrenhal for a few days?
yeah,
But like, is he really sulking for 2 weeks
I know.
while this all happens?
Well,
Or
at
like
least a week,
a
because
week?
Viserys
Yeah.
dies, Jace dies,
Yep.
Jaehaerys, and
But
then
even
he flies
even
off.
Tully comes from
River Run.
River
Yeah.
Run to
Yeah.
Harrenhal.
Yeah.
It's not a whole army, but that's days. I mean, we know how long that takes. We
Yeah.
saw Arya try to do it and
Yeah.
talk about it.
Yeah.
It's a longer journey than people think.
Yeah.
It takes time to do those things,
Yeah.
and no, it
Yeah.
doesn't add up for
It's
me.
not
But it's
working.
okay.
That doesn't,
It's
yeah.
okay. I remember
Some things land, some things don't land.
in the early days of the Davos Fingers podcast, I used to always complain about like, oh, the armies, they don't move consistently and the timing doesn't work out and there's no way they'd be able to feed them and things like that. And Brooke, one of our original members, would say, like, you don't want that. You're complaining about it, but do you really want George to spend paragraphs talking about how they fed the army?
I
You don't
remember
want
the
it.
stuff on the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
don't need to know
she
the
was right.
details
She
of
was
feeding the
wise.
army, but I just want it to line up. I just want equality
Yeah.
across the board here. Make it make
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but moving into the council meeting. So she shows up, Jace and Bela are trying to rein it in. Rhaenys is there, trying to sort some things out.
Uh-huh.
And the council's giving them the business. They're talking down to the kids and to Rhaenys. And yeah, she doesn't really have a hand.
Yeah.
It's frustrating a little bit, and I don't think she does in the book. I don't think she has any designated. She's a council, but I don't think any of them have really designated roles.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because it feels like if this is something you're taking this seriously, but mind you, maybe it'll be next week. Maybe that will be something they implement, because she didn't know necessarily that she was going to war until she had this
Yeah.
conversation with Alicent. So she's just come back. She has some planning to do.
Yep.
But presumably, yeah, Daemon or Rhaenys would have been her hand.
Or Corlys.
Maybe Jace. Maybe Corlys.
Or Corlys.
Yeah.
But what I didn't like is that Corlys comes in and immediately everyone snaps to attention.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, Corlys is here. Everything will be fine.
There's a man here. It's
I
fine.
know. It was
That's what we're supposed to
annoying.
do.
Jace,
Yeah.
bless his heart, he's trying. Just doesn't quite have it yet. Just doesn't have the
No,
bite you
and
need yet.
he's being undermined because he's young, but he's also being undermined because he's not legitimate in their eyes. So they're like, yeah, like we're doing this for your mom, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Legitimate.
Yeah.
I don't like that argument, but okay.
I don't like it. I just think that it's a factor.
I mean, he's legitimate in the same way that she is.
Yeah.
The person claimed that they're the heir, right? So, I mean, Rhaenyra actually is.
Rhaenyra is the heir,
depending on the
and
laws,
she's his mother, so nothing else really matters. His father doesn't matter at all because it's her blood that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Laenor claims them anyway.
Exactly.
So
yeah. I get so frustrated with it all. I'm like, no, like Laenor had no problem saying these were his kids, whether they were or not, it didn't matter. And Corlys felt the same way.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
anyway, so Rhaenyra does come back though.
She does.
And Jace kind of gives her the business about it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Where have you fucking been,
Mm-hmm.
Mom. You
Mm-hmm.
can't just leave us like that. Her reasons are good though. Like they don't see. It doesn't seem like she made all the right choices. Like she could have told somebody so
Yeah.
that they could have given better answers than we don't know where she is,
Yeah.
right? Like they could have.
But
She,
Rhaenys knew.
yeah, she
Rhaenys knew
knew.
where
I
she was.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Rhaenys is the one who sued for her to go there in the first place.
I guess coming back to the prophecy stuff, like now that this prophecy exists and we know it's a thing and we know that the heir or the current leader always knows it, every time they don't tell the next one in line and do anything and go anywhere out of their bed, I'm like, did you tell the heir yet? Because
Yeah.
there's always a
It's your
risk.
one job.
You,
It's
you,
true.
yeah,
Yeah, the
you're.
fact that she was like attacked in her bed by a Kingsguard member and hadn't told her son is pretty scary.
And Jace is right. Going to King's Landing has some inherent risk, and she could have died. And
Hmm.
like, if she has this big dramatic speech right after that council thing where she tells him about the prophecy,
Yeah.
where she's saying sending these dragons, these beasts of war, out to fight each other and do all of this damage has to be more than just the crown.
Yes.
It's more than that. It's this
It's the
whole
mission.
legacy that we have,
Yeah.
right? That we have to protect and be here to save the realm.
Yeah.
But like that thought also needed to occur to you before you went to King's Landing and put your life in danger.
Don't you feel like so you guys had a great episode about this prophecy and how and where maybe it does move down through the ages and trying to track it. But don't you think that's kind of the point? Is that all of these things get lost anyway? Because this,
Y-
I think, gets lost here. Not here with Jace, but like probably when Jace dies, or like I don't think it moves that far
When
after
Rhaenyra
this.
dies,
When Rhaenyra dies, well, she maybe tells Damon,
Aegon
Damon,
the second,
Aegon the third, her Aegon.
third, yeah,
Yeah, she maybe tells her Aegon. Yeah, yeah,
maybe, but he hates
but he
dragons
hates dragons,
and is
and then
kind
he
of
dies young,
he, he
and
doesn't die
Viserys
super young, but yeah,
takes
Viserys the
over.
second takes over. Yep,
Um, who maybe never knows about it.
maybe never knows about it.
Right? So this is where it could sort of fumble, but isn't I feel like that's sort
There
of
are
the
a bunch
point.
of spots in the next 40 years where it could get fumbled,
Yeah.
and it could be not one person that fumbles it. Maybe they fumble part of it, right?
Yeah.
The dagger gets misplaced. And like, oh, that what was the phrase, or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, you got Aegon the Unworthy coming up. You got Baelor the Blessed. You got the
Yeah.
dragon guy that goes to Dorne and gets poisoned or whatever.
Hmm.
Like there's
The
all
young
sorts
dragon.
of, yeah, the young dragon. There's all sorts of opportunity in the next 40 years for somebody to lose the plot on this thing and to need to be saved by the Dreamer
Yeah.
coming up in 210
Yeah.
or 212 or whatever, 220, whatever it ends up being. Um, but yeah, I think it does. I think the plot does get lost. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the whole point. It's just it's sort of the kickoff of the Targaryens. They don't have their power very long,
Yeah.
and it starts to fumble pretty
But
badly.
it's like Allison's looking in the histories. We know Rhaegar spends a bunch of time looking in the histories and determines that he has to become a warrior at some point
Yeah, so
because of
maybe
something
Allison
that he
does find
read.
something.
Maybe she finds something, right?
Yeah.
And maybe there is something in there, but like maybe put a bookmark in that spot of the book so that your heirs find it or something. Because we've talked
Yeah, do
about.
you wonder if Allison finds it if she does tell Aemond or Aegon about it?
I think she thinks the die is cast and it doesn't really matter and it will only hurt their efforts to continue winning. So
Why?
I don't because they'll feel like they undermined the
No,
whole
because
thing.
they might feel like now they need to do better, or like that it is their responsibility to unite the realm, and so they'll fight harder, maybe, like Rhaenyra is fighting. This has to be for more than just a crown. It almost
Yeah,
deepens the resolve if you.
sure. That's a fair point. I guess they might feel bad that they interrupted the line that Viserys had planned because it was what he thought was the right path, but it's like, oh well, we screwed that up. We better fix it, right? And so
Mhm.
let's recommit to do this the right way. And you know, our bad, but let's do it now and take care of this prophecy and make sure we're honoring it. So yeah, you're right. I can see that.
Yeah, I could see Aemond especially being like, I could use this.
Wrong motivation, but sure.
But like I said, like he looks for those things to connect him to
Yeah.
his roots and to his power, and so that
Yeah.
prophecy for Aemond would be another
I'll say this:
one of those.
Viserys II was an extremely capable guy.
Yeah,
Did a lot of things right. Was very pragmatic. If he saw this and took it at face value, I don't think he'd have lost it. I think you'd have made sure it lived on. So I think it was. I said there's lots of opportunity in the next 40 years for that to get lost. He was kind of around for several rulers.
he
I think it
was.
was lost before that because I think he would have made sure they knew. Although I guess any one of them could have then chosen to think it was garbage. So maybe not.
Yeah, yeah. Or I don't know. I think Steph thinks that Barth wrote it down.
Mm,
That Jaehaerys told him, and Barth wrote it down somewhere, and that's how Rhaegar finds it.
yeah, makes sense.
Um, yeah, and if anyone would, it would be Barth, I think.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately it doesn't really matter who loses it along this way. The point is that it doesn't make it to Daenerys or Viserys, probably, like Viserys, her brother.
Yeah.
So that's all
Because
that really
like
matters, is those are the people who maybe needed it. But
the
anyway, I just
great
want
yeah.
more about that prophecy. Like what? Why? Tell me more. Tell me why.
Yeah. Yeah. It's especially frustrating because, well, in my opinion, I think Aegon figures it out, right? Aegon the Fifth figures it out, and that's why people go to the wall, and there's all sorts of things tied up in that. We don't need to go through it all here, but then somehow Rhaegar doesn't get all of it. But even then, he doesn't make sure to pass it on before he goes and rides off to war.
But he
Like
does.
you spent all of this time making sure. You think he does?
I do. He says his is the song of ice and fire to Elia, presumably Elia. So I think maybe he
Oh,
does, and I also think maybe he tells Lyanna as well.
so I saw a hilarious image of Viserys, Daenerys' brother,
Mhm.
being dragged toward the
I saw
molten
that too
gold
with the crown.
helmet.
Wait, I have to tell you
He's
about the
wait,
prophecy.
I gotta tell you about the saga of
Yeah, yeah, I know.
So in that, what, Viserys is like, how old is he? Like 4 or something when they
15.
flee
When they flee. Yeah, he's
Dragonstone?
young. Yeah.
He's young. So like theoretically they
But I
sent
don't
it
think
with
Viserys
Derry,
knew
or
because he wasn't the heir. Rhaegar was.
but who would Rhaegar have told then if you said he did make
I
sure it
think he
was
told
told?
Elia.
But Ilya died and didn't
But
tell anyone.
I
S-
still think he told people. I think he told Elia,
mm,
and I think he told Diana. I do. Because Danny has that vision in the House of the Undying of
yeah.
Rhaegar. And he says his is
Yep.
the
I
Song of
know.
Ice and
Yeah.
Fire, right?
He's talking about
So
his
he
son,
literally
right?
says the Song of Ice and Fire to
Right.
Elia in that vision. So I think that he does tell, at least I think he tells his wives.
We are so off on tangents. It's
We are.
fun. But he still goes after and tries, well, theoretically, goes after Lyanna to try to have another heir
Yeah,
because maybe, I
something.
don't know.
I know. I
Meg,
don't know.
yeah, we don't know. We don't
Yeah,
know. We
I
don't know.
know.
I'm saying Rhaegar didn't do the job. You're saying you think he did.
I think
Okay.
he did his best. I think he did try. Yeah, I do. But I think that his wives died. So
Let me just put it a slightly different way. He
maybe
spent
Lyanna told Ned.
that'd be really cool. Uh, he spent like so much of his life trying to figure this out,
Hmm.
figured it out, and then didn't like leave enough
I
breadcrumbs
know. Well,
for
that we
for
know
the
of.
next person not to have to do exactly, like, why does this have to be a secret?
I know.
Let's publish it in the Winterfell Journal and in the Vale Bulletin and in
Yeah.
every single,
I
like,
know.
why
Why does
can't
it have to be
everyone
a
just
secret
know
at all?
this?
This is why we need these people to rule us, because
Yeah.
there's this big thing coming. Like, why can you
Yeah.
imagine the legitimacy it would put on your reign if you were just like, I have to lead you, I'm your savior. Or if
Yeah.
I'm not, my kid is, you
In a
know?
in a time where people believe the news,
Yeah.
that might work.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
Not in that place today.
yeah, I'm still fixated on the maybe Lyanna told Ned, because she talks about promise me, Ned, and the promises that he had given Lyanna. So
Yeah.
maybe one of the promises was the prince that was promised.
Yeah. I think, yeah, there's been conversation. I think you and I had a conversation, or our two podcasts did, on Twitter about the fact that maybe there's a southern version of this, Song of Ice and Fire, and a northern version, and that the Starks have their own oral tradition around
Mhm.
them being the guards of the North because this thing is coming, and then they kind of like work together that way. And if Lyanna had told Ned something like that, promise me, Ned, has nothing to do with Jon. Promise me, Ned, that you'll make sure this vision occurs.
Yeah.
Or this, yeah,
And Benjen
interesting.
suddenly winds up at the wall,
Yep.
Mhm.
Yes.
Anyway,
We should move
we should
on.
probably talk about Brooke's Rest.
Yes. Rook's
The
resting.
title of the episode, I believe, Brooke's Rest.
I think it's called The Red Dragon and the Gold.
Oh, all right, fine. Same difference. Should have been
It's
called
also the name of the
Brooke's Rest.
chapter in Fire and Blood as well.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's funny. I listen to it. I don't read it, so sometimes that goes over my head. Yes. So the plan was always to draw out a dragon, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Stef, I have that little note, and Stef said yes, savage. It was. Vhagar is such a cool beast to see on television, just to see brought to life. It's like I said, Vhagar's like a mix between a T-Rex and a Rottweiler. Like when Aemond sees Sunfire fly overhead, he's like literally about to take off, and then he sees Sunfire and he's like, fucking idiot. And then he's like, wait, Vhagar. And Vhagar's like, okay, I'll go sleepy now. And he reminded me of a new puppy. And he reminded me of my new puppy. Going to sleep. It was funny.
I don't want to ruin the new puppy image.
Oh no, okay.
But I think that Vhagar looks fucking awful in this show.
I feel like you hated Caraxes too, don't you?
Like Caraxes is interestingly bad, at least. Vhagar looks like a bad animatronic prop from a third-rate amusement park.
Oh my gosh.
I think Vhagar looks awful.
Wow.
Real bad. Like
fascinating.
Like they've got something on sticks that they're moving around and plop down.
Oh my god.
I hate it. I hate Vhagar and the way they do it.
All right. Okay.
I think the rest of the dragons move beautifully. Yeah. Vhagar just doesn't.
Vhagar is meant to. She's old. It's like something really ridiculous. It's like riding your grandma to war. Like it's not meant to be a smooth ride. I don't want that phrase
anywhere near my mouth.
Oh,
Grandmas are not meant to be smooth rides.
Sorry. Yep. Okay. I thought it was sad that Rhaenys was the one who begged Rhaenyra to try and go make peace and talk to Alicent about reason, and then she's the one who volunteers to go to war. Yeah. Obviously showed that she was, willing to do whatever was necessary, right? If you can avoid war, avoid it. Since this is inevitable, I will go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also didn't like that change. I'm a big Rhaenyra is also a villain guy. I think that my take is there are no good guys in this story.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a unique take. A lot of people feel this way, but I feel like this show is really putting the halo on Rhaenyra's head, and I don't like it. She refuses to go help in this effort.
She doesn't refuse. Did you reread it today? She doesn't refuse at all. Go ahead.
Corlys specifically says you should have gone, and she's like, nah.
She was recovering from a bad childbirth. When's the last time you had a baby?
It's a fair point.
Let alone a bad one, a bad birth.
I mean, it's been like a month at this point in the book.
It's been like 2 weeks.
In the show, that might be true, but that's not the excuse she gives here. She in the show, she's like, let me go. I want to go. I'm doing it. And they make her into this like hero, and they have to talk her down from the ledge of sacrificing herself. And that's not the way it went. She was, even if you say they were legitimate excuses, she was not putting herself out there to go do this.
No, but she shouldn't. She shouldn't be. She shouldn't be. It's the same reason. It's the same reason that Viserys didn't go to different things.
Went.
It was always, and Aegon should not have gone. Aegon, in Aegon's case, like he's got some spares, but Rhaenyra, yeah, I guess she has some very young sons. She has no one else that's capable of ruling at her level. She hasn't passed down the prophecy. She shouldn't be going. She shouldn't be.
Pass down the prophecy and go together. I so I- I'll never change my mind on this. I feel like she and Cyrax should have gone to this battle.
Yeah, I
And
I just
I
I
will admit that
totally
I have
disagree.
baggage around Rhaenys. I love her. She's my favorite
I know.
Targaryen.
I
So
love her
like
too.
seeing her volunteer and go alone to do this when they have so many options of people that could go with her, uh, and they don't. They just don't.
I do feel like they are painting clear good guy, clear bad guy. Clear Rhaenyra is the good guy. Clear the
Yeah,
Greens are the bad guys.
and I don't like it.
And I agree. I don't like it either. I not Game of Thrones did it really well. Like A Song of Ice and Fire does it really well, where there are people, let's say there's some Lannisters that you don't hate. I don't know, maybe they're not the best example, but in the earlier days, like in Game of Thrones, Tyrion especially is really likable um at first.
Yeah,
And so you kind of root for him in a lot of ways. And when you get to the Battle of the Blackwater, some people like Davos but don't like Stannis, and some people like Tyrion but don't like Cersei. And so there's this like, we don't want either side to really lose because you're invested on either side. And this is missing that. The only person on the green side that I'm invested in is Helena. I don't give a shit about any of the rest of them. So it's interesting, but I'm not emotionally captured yet.
yeah.
And I don't know if they will have a way to do that. Um,
I think the show's made me like a lot of them. I like Jace a lot. I like Bela a lot.
the,
I
the
like Rhaena
blacks.
a
I'm talking about
lot.
the greens.
Oh, and the Greens. Uh, oh, for however many are over there. Yeah, none.
Yeah,
I don't like.
exactly. That's
Yeah,
just Helena. She's the only one that I like,
you're right.
that
Helena.
I will
Yep.
be sad about when something happens to her. So you don't feel as like connected to it. If
Yeah.
you're not as like, oh God, I don't want anyone to go down. Like, ugh. Um, and I think it's missing, and I think that's a mistake for later because I don't like just the clear cut good guy, bad guy thing.
I don't. I will add Alicent. I don't think she's all bad.
No, I don't. I
I
like
like her
Alicent.
more in the show for sure than I do in Fire
I
and
think I'm
Blood.
starting to like her less in the show than I did
Yeah.
before. Like she,
Yeah.
just even her saying, I'm not even going to try. I mean,
Yes.
she's right. The die has been cast. There's no way back, but
Yeah.
she just became so much of her father's daughter. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Anyway, so they don't send Cyrax and
they do
Rhaenyra. They
not.
send the badass Rhaenys,
They do.
who claims that Melis is battle tested. But then like minutes earlier we heard that there's been 80 years of peace. So I don't know. I don't know exactly where all these battles come
The
from, where these
stepstones.
dragons are experienced.
I guess that I was thinking about this, the only stepstone, the
Caraxes I
only,
know was
yeah,
there. Did
Melee's was there too.
Melis?
Melee's,
Okay.
Sea Smoke, and Caraxes all were a part of the stepstones battles, but they're nowhere near the caliber of
In the
this.
book
Like
or in the show?
in the show,
Okay.
yeah, in the show.
Okay.
Mhm. Um, yeah, I don't like it either. And like, I
Which
guess if
part?
she's just thinking that she's going and there's not going to be a dragon there, but I feel
I
like
think
they
that is
had
what she
to.
thinks.
I feel like they had to have known that there was a risk that a dragon could show up. If I just, I'm
There's a
still,
risk, but they talk about it during the council. I think they say they wouldn't take the dragons out of King's Landing and leave it exposed. I think they say something like that.
yeah,
So they don't think they're going to. There has been no evidence of dragons at the previous sieges. So I think they feel okay about it. And they are Rhaenys is going to protect the people, right, that are allied with their cause. So I think she doesn't want to turn back. But it feels like in this game of chess with these Death Star dragons, you kind of got to hold them tight, even at the expense of people. That sounds so terrible. But like when
yeah,
she
well,
saw that
yeah,
it was 2-on-1, she should have left,
she should have left. Yeah,
book
I
and
know.
show. But
Yeah,
especially in show, after she took one down, that's a win.
yeah,
You took
I
Sunfire
agree.
down, get out of there.
Get out of there. I agree.
Like,
Yeah, it's a
go.
lost cause.
Yeah,
But I think that she thought that maybe she could have had a chance against
yeah.
Rhaegar, or at least to try, right? Take out the rider, if not the
Sh-
dragon.
And she did have a chance. I mean, she
Yeah.
fought well. It was. I don't think it was. I don't think it was that lopsided. I mean, she was using her agility a lot to to be to like get underneath Vagar instead of being in front for the deadly fire and the bigger mass to kind of take control. She was, using that agility well. She really just made one big mistake of flying
Going
around
over
a
a
blind
blind
corner.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know why it feels like I hate that they did Rhaenys that way. I don't feel like she'd have done that.
I agree. I didn't like it. And it's the same thing that happened sort of with Luke. And it's like that
I was
I
similar
could
kind
see
of,
it working, like working with Luke, the dragon comes out of nowhere. He's just a baby rider. He doesn't know what he's doing, but it just, again, like she wouldn't have fallen for that. So I'm doing it with Melee's. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
There's
She's
that
just a
moment.
very experienced rider.
She's a very experienced. She's the
Like,
most experienced rider
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Maybe more than Daemon, right? Because she's older.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah,
Yeah,
very
most likely.
close to that. There's that moment where she clips on to Melee's, like she's like, I'm in this now. And I felt very like the captain will go down with the ship for me. Like if you fall, we both fall. You jump, I jump. Yeah.
I think at that moment she kind of knew.
Yeah.
She's like,
Just
it's
keep
possible
flying. I
I
was
can
like, I
win,
said it
but
out
like,
loud. I said it to Jay.
yeah,
I was like, I wish you would just keep going.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was
So
hopeful,
sad.
but
Yeah.
they didn't change it. And, as upset as I was, you don't want them to change something that significant. It's a
No, I
huge
know. I
moment,
just
and
don't want to lose her.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Did you notice that when Melis fell and died, like she exploded in fire?
Yeah.
Like
Hmm.
it's
I
like a
know.
bomb went off almost. Like
I was like, what what happened
yeah.
here? What
Well,
like electrical fuse did she has like a car blowing up? Like what happened in there?
well, there's precedent for the blood being like acidic, like
Yeah.
burny, hot. Maybe it's not acid. Maybe it's just really hot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't expect it to be like a ball of flame
Me
exploded
neither.
when the dragon crashed. That was interesting.
And that was show big time because the book has an image in it
Mm.
of a downed dragon and her body beside it.
Oh, I thought that was Sunfire in the book. Is it her?
I think it's Rhaenys.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, but it's interesting that Sunfire didn't blow up.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah, I mean maybe there weren't enough wounds to like get punctured to
make that
cause it.
happen. Yeah.
You're right though. It's missing a spark chemically somehow. Anyway, we're
Yeah.
not scientists,
No.
but
Especially dragon scientists.
especially dragon scientists. There are
Yeah.
very few of those around.
Very few. Very few.
Um,
George might be one of them. Yeah. That
but
sucked.
Melee's going down was really sad.
Yeah.
Before she turns around, and I think it almost looks like Melee's looks back, thinking she's done a good job. Like, can we go home, Mom? Are you proud of me?
Yeah.
Can we go? I did good,
What
right?
do you think? Yeah.
And then she turns her around, it's like, okay. And then just the
Beggars.
look of almost like apology when
Yeah.
when she knows she can't fight anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And that when Rhaenys lets go, I think, I
Yeah.
mean, that you said that there's not a lot of like great performances, but Eve Best in that moment when she just lets go is just
Yeah.
incredible. I
It
mean,
was good. Yeah.
tore my heart out of my chest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. Sunfire is beautiful. Sunfire the bro dragon. I hate
Uh,
Sunfire.
Probably my favorite moment in the whole episode
Is when he like
is
noses
when he
Aegon.
nudges
What up?
him. Like it's just this little personality bit that gives more to both Aegon and Sunfire. It's just yeah, I talked about that. I was watching the Lego Batman movie the other night with my kids, which if you haven't seen the Lego Batman movie, even if you're a parent or an adult with no kids, I recommend watching the Lego Batman movie. It's hilarious. Um, but there's a part where the animators decide to have Batman put in the wrong number on the microwave to cook his lobster meal. And
Okay.
it's like they spent how many hours animating that stupid mistake just to add a little bit of levity. And the same thing, they just added this little moment where Sunfire just nudges him and Aegon smiles and pets him or whatever. It just gives so much more meat to the characters in the story when you add little elements like that. They're crucial. I
Yeah.
loved it.
I was on Sandry Scribbles recently, fairly recently. And Egg asked who the worst dragon is, and
Oh.
and it's Sunfire for sure. Because of what he does to
To
my
Rainier.
queen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hate his guts, but he is beautiful. And yeah. Anyway, it's a complicated relationship I have with that scene in Sunfire, knowing what happens. But yes, it
I
was
see.
good. It was important. And it does show they do a really good job of showing the connection these riders have to their dragons. That
Yes.
moment with Sunfire, when Rhaenyra is in labor with Visenya and Syrax is screaming, those little interactions are
Yeah.
really, really good.
Yeah.
Especially for a connection that we know so little about. I think they do a really good job of showing us that their son, that moment with Meleys when she looks back, or when
Yeah.
Rhaenys has that moment even before they fly off, and having
We
that
get those relationships with the Stark kids and their
in the
direwolves where
direwolves.
it's very clear in the books that they're like sharing a brain kind of
Yeah.
like at times,
Yeah.
right? And
It seems very similar, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and
And
we don't
even the
get much of that in Game of
personalities, the
Thrones.
lining up, like when you see Shaggy Dog and Rickon, you can't help it when you see
Yes.
Aegon and Sunfire kind of having a
Yes.
similar, our
Right.
personalities are together in this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels very similar.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It is. It is.
I'll be interested to see as they go forward if they give any of the dragon seeds, because it's a very complicated thing for me and my theories
Mhm.
about all of that. But if they give any of the dragon seeds those similar connections to their dragons or not.
I feel like they have to.
They haven't grown up with them.
Let's
They don't
wait.
have
Let's
that deep.
put a little pin in that and
Yeah.
finish up with this, and then we can move on
Okay,
to that
fine.
stuff.
I'm good at
Um,
tangents. It's all I
I
do.
know. Well, we just did a massive tangent, obviously.
Yeah.
Steph and I are also very good at tangents.
How long are these supposed to be? Because we're way over
Yeah, oh
time.
yeah, we're way over. I think one episode we did was 2.5 hours. We and
Oh, we'll get under
whatever.
that. We're
Yeah,
almost done.
yeah. Yeah. Anyway, some people think that just jumping ahead, so Meleys has fallen. Aemond did his perfect America's Next Top Model pose on top of Vagar and the good side eye bitch face, and then flew off. And Kristen's trying to get to Aegon, who he sees has fallen. I think he's really starting to see what dragons can do. He touches that. That's a really incredible scene too. When he touches that guard, we have to go save the king, and he just disintegrates. It's amazing. I was laughing because Kristen stops it like a horse. And I think, okay, he's gonna get on the horse and ride off into the woods to see Aegon, and he just keeps walking. I'm like, you're a fucking idiot.
I didn't even notice it.
Steph goes, I don't think he could have gotten on that horse if he tried. He's got no oxygen in his lungs. They would be like me trying to get on a horse on a normal day. And this is like a total aside, but I can't help but say this. So my family goes to Newfoundland sometimes. I have family in Newfoundland. My mom lives in Newfoundland. And we went out to visit one year. My mom's friend came with us, and we went out in a boat, and we would like get in and out of the boat, go to the beach. We were like across the bay. And it's kind of like, I don't know if you know what a dory is, but a dory is like kind of a higher walled boat. No, it wasn't a dory. That's a lie. Dories are shallow. Anyway, it was a boat. It was sort of higher wall, but it had a motor. So it like could be rowed, could be motored, didn't matter. We were using the motor. Anyway, my mom, we were all hopping in and out of the boat
You're
pretty easily.
motorboating.
Yeah. Yeah, we're motorboating. Anyway. My mom's friend Jan, who was not raised in boats, and I wasn't raised in boats either, but I was pretty young at this point. Um Jan was trying to get back in the boat after one of the stops. And it might have been the first one. And she was trying to get in the boat, and she just couldn't do it. This is what I'm picturing when Steph talks about trying to get onto the horse, is Jan trying to get into the boat. And she was like, she managed eventually to get like her foot over, and just like she was just like dying on the side of this boat, resting there, trying to get the will to push herself over the lip of the boat. My mom kind of had to go like boop
Push.
and like push her in for her to like roll and tumble into the boat. So that's what I picture is Steph trying to get onto a horse with the same like, I can't get onto this horse. Anyway, that was
Now I want to know if Steph's ever ridden horses and
I know,
knows how to get on
so
a horse.
curious. Yeah. Let us know. Yeah. Have you ever ridden a horse?
Yeah, several times.
Really? Fascinating.
Sure.
No.
Camp. It's been a long time now. and I wouldn't do that to a horse these days. Far too heavy to ever do that to a horse. Give me a dragon. I'll ride one of those.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah.
Uh,
Anyway, boats and
so
horses.
Kristen does eventually make it there
He does.
without the horse,
Mm-hmm.
and he
Mm-hmm.
sees Aemond. There was a lot of stuff out there about Aemond and whether he was going to kill
Aegon.
Aegon, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't think so. It looks to me like he's about to sheathe the sword
But
before.
why was the sword out?
Well, there's still maybe enemies around. I don't know.
True. I
I don't.
agree. It
You're
did
right.
look like he
You're
was
right.
sort of
You wouldn't think they'd be out there.
not over where the dragon just fell.
You wouldn't think so. But spies or scouts or something. It could be. But it looked to me in the scene. I looked at it a couple times. It looked like
Yeah,
he was resheathing it.
I agree. I agree. But it's like, did he like just quickly do that because Cole was there? Or
He didn't
yeah,
know Cole was there yet. He looked like he was
true.
resheathing it before Cole said
Yeah,
anything to
he said
me.
Aemond. Yeah,
Right.
and then he picked up the dagger.
Hmm.
Yeah,
The worthless dagger.
the worthless dagger. Yes.
Hmm.
Um, everyone is speculating that Aemond saw something written on the dagger.
Doesn't matter. There's no bookmark in any page in any book anywhere that's going to tell him what that means.
Yeah.
Because it just says the Song of Ice and Fire on it. It doesn't
Yeah.
have the prophecy. Like, if it had the prophecy written on it, like the ring, the one ring that tells you at least a poem that like means something, that would be worthwhile. But the dagger just says the Song of Ice and Fire. And they're like, huh. It's like me finding a magical book that has a title that's hidden and it just says the branch without any leaves is the cure. And you're like, what does that mean? Like, I
Smells
don't.
like something one of my kids would leave lying around. I'm like, what's that? Garbage. Not garbage.
Right, like without any
Yeah.
reference to something else to look at, it doesn't tell them enough of. I mean, I guess if we speculated earlier, maybe Allison will find something. If
Hmm.
she finds something and he brings it up to her, then she could be like, "Oh, well, here it is." So
Yeah.
maybe, I
Yeah. It kind of
guess,
validates something, right? If he did
yeah.
see something. I didn't feel like he did, but I think that Aemond could just by accident be like playing with the blade,
Mm,
and find it and have it light up. Like I think if he's going to see something on it, it's going to be shown on screen. It's going to be poignant and
yeah,
purposeful. I don't think
probably
it's
that
going to
makes
be
sense.
like, oh, maybe he did, maybe he did. I think we're going to know for sure if he knows
It,
that
it
there's something
it
there.
feels more like a moment in this episode that was just meant to show us he has it now.
Yeah, yeah.
It didn't get lost.
No,
Aemond
and
has
I
it now.
felt
So did
like it was more
Aegon.
symbolic of him taking on the role of king now,
Mm, even though he doesn't know what it means.
picking up the dagger. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, he doesn't know what it means, but he's taking
yeah,
on what should be Aegon's role now.
yeah.
He has to. He's the next in line.
Right. Kind of.
Yes. Yeah. So we do have a Patreon question, so I just want to
Hmm.
jump to that. Um, it's funny. It's from Mother of Baggins, who we love. My question is, how much of the writer's personality spills over to the dragons? Does Sunfire have a douchey reputation in the dragon pit? Do other dragons make fun of his high Valyrian? Is Vhagar a broody loner, whilst her rider is Aemond? Do you think that Vhagar's personality would change based on her rider?
Well, that's kind of what I meant about the dragon seeds and how much of their personalities spill over to the dragons that already had riders.
Yeah.
Like, um, was Vermithor imprinted on, for lack of a better word, by the old king, J. Harris the First? Is Silverwing imprinted on by Alisanne? And their personalities are kind of set the way they are now, and they just mourn their riders, but they still accept a new one. It's like, okay, fine, but you're not this person. Or do they change? Are their personalities somewhat, you know, migratory to the point where, yeah, who does Hugh the Hammer get? He gets
Vermithor.
Vermithor. Now Vermithor has to become this a-hole, and Silverwing, who Ulf the White gets, now becomes this sot
That one hurts
idiot.
me so much.
Yeah,
That one hurts me the most, Silverwing.
yeah,
And I'm
me
not the
too.
biggest Alisan fan, but
Silverwing's
Silverwing
probably my
hurts.
favorite dragon, but
Yeah.
um, but like, do they still yeah, how much of that do they take, or are they kind of set after their first rider? It's an interesting question.
Yeah, it is. I feel like people, you get influenced by everybody you meet and that you allow into your life. Um, So I think they probably are, they have their roots and their foundations in their
Yeah.
first rider, but as they grow and their needs change or their riders' needs change,
Hmm.
that probably they do too, just like we do.
Yeah, I sort like our behaviors change for sure as
Mhm.
we get older and as we meet new people we create different relationships with and have different, expectations of us and things like that. But my personality is my personality. At 44, I'm not
This
changing a
is
whole
it.
lot.
Yeah.
Like this is it. And I don't know that I could, I could meet my hero, and I'm not sure I'd change a lot. You know, um, Vagar is 350, 370 years old, something
Yeah, I mean,
very
Aemond
old.
is like a
Is
fly on
he?
her ass at this point, like
Yeah, Vagar's.
with the
I think
amount
she
of riders
respects
she's
Aemond,
had.
but I don't think she's changing a whole
But she
lot.
listens to him.
No, I think she respects him. I think
Yeah,
yeah, she understands him and respects him and is doing
kind
what he
of,
wants. But I don't
because
think,
we did see that scene with Luke where she didn't listen to him at all.
yeah,
So,
well, yeah,
yeah. I think I my speculation is they are more intuitive. It's not about the personalities necessarily of the writer. It's about like the feelings of the writer.
mm,
So I think when Aegon, for example, went to get Sunfire from the Dragon Pit, he was in kind of a needy place, right?
oh,
And so Sunfire was like, "What's up? I got you. We'll go. We'll
hmm,
chill." You know, like
yeah,
I think it was like comfort,
sure. So
service
not like the
animal.
wolves then. The wolves, we feel like they do just take on kind of the emotions and the personality of the Stark kids. You're
Yeah,
implying the dragons are the opposite. They're intuitive and they feel the emotions, but they respond as they should, not mimic it.
yeah,
Interesting.
but not. So we made the comparison, kind of Shaggy Dog and Rickon.
Yeah.
If you take um, that sort of wildness of them, Rickon is really young, so it's hard to make this comparison. Then you have Aemond when he flies out from Storm's End and he's got Vagar and he's fired up,
Yep.
you know, whether or not he was like, "Oh, I really wanted to kill the kid" or not,
Yeah.
he he was trying to, obey,
Hmm.
obey, right? And Vagar wasn't, but like his mood was not saying calm down to Vagar. It was saying we're fired up, even though his words were
Right.
saying don't do that.
Right. So, but in that case, Vagar didn't hear the emotion and like check the rider or give
That's
him
what
what
I
he
mean, though.
needed
I
to
feel
calm
like they
down.
feed off the emotion of
They
the
fed off of
writer
it.
instead of,
Okay.
so yeah, that's what I
But
feel like. It's all
okay.
instinct, emotion. That's my guess.
You don't have me yet on it, but
That's all right.
yeah, it's
We
okay.
disagree on lots of things. You're wrong all the
We
time.
do.
It's fine. Just have to talk about Reina. We won't
Let's
do
not go
that.
there. What else do
Yeah.
we have here?
Just predictions for next week. And I wanted to know, like, what did you really enjoy about the episode now that we've sort of like gone all over it all?
I
If
mean,
you
the
had
dragon
to
fight was
pick out,
amazing.
yeah,
I I'm
apart from
not
Vagar.
I'm I'm much of a I'm much more of a I like the council scenes. I like the interpersonal conversations and the little, those deep scenes between two characters or more. That's what really, gets me going about shows. So like the battles and stuff don't usually do a lot, but this was an exceptionally interesting fight to watch, and I think it has to be the thing that that gets called out the most. But the relationship stuff with Alice and Tanagon and with Jace and Rainier were both interesting. I liked both of those things a lot. Um, you know, we didn't talk about the Rhaenys and Corlys stuff. I I thought
Oh
that
yeah,
was
and
interesting
Alan.
too with
Yeah,
Alan.
yeah, I liked that.
And Rhaenys being the anti-cat. Those are not
Yeah,
apples to apples comparisons exactly, really. But
no,
um,
they're pretty close. They're pretty
well,
close
Alan isn't a
comparisons.
threat to her kids,
Neither's
status.
neither's John.
Could be, depending on some things. But
Only that John was raised with the Winterfell kids.
and he's like the same age. Like
Alan's
there's
older than her kids. Then
not than Leonor,
yeah,
is he?
I think so. It's hard to
Oh,
say the time jump. Yeah, I feel like he's older
yeah.
than Lenore. I don't know.
Hmm. Anyway,
I liked it. I liked that moment actually with Alan. Eve Best in this episode for me
she was great.
was she every moment on screen she had. I mean, this whole season,
Yep.
but this episode especially, every moment for her was just so good.
Her and Tom, the kid that plays Aegon, were
Yeah.
the best performances for me in
Yeah,
this
I
episode.
agree. Yeah.
I didn't love. You asked me what I liked, and I went to something I didn't love. I don't love that Corlys and Rhaenys got nothing. No goodbye.
I know. I was mad.
She's
Yeah,
like,
I was
it has to
disappointed.
be me. Maelis's
She looked at
experience. I'll
him. She
go.
gives him a
She looks at
glance.
him, maybe tapped him on the shoulder or something, and then just leaves. Like
Peace.
nothing.
Nice
Yeah,
knowing ya. Yeah.
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 Bothered me a lot because
Hmm.
they've done a good job in this show of showing a real connection and
Between
relationship
those
and
two.
trust between those two
Yeah.
characters,
Yeah.
and they just wrote it off.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
No.
What did you like about this episode?
Yeah, Eve Best.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
she was
For
great.
sure. She was great. Every moment with her was exceptional. Yeah. Predictions. You have anything for next week? Any thoughts?
Oh, I'm always so bad at this. I feel like they've built up the Dragon Seeds storyline a lot, so I think they're gonna have to go there soon.
I feel like they
In
have to go
Fire,
there. In the book,
yeah,
they've already kind of talked about it. It's already
in Fire and Blood, Rhaenyra starts to realize like the only advantage she's got are the dragons, the dragon
her
advantage that
council's
she
very
has.
eager to point it out. She has tons of
Yeah,
dragons. She is on Dragonstone.
and then with the Dragon Seeds, they get even more.
You get more
And
riders. They get more active dragons. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. And so I feel like that's going to be a focus.
I
And
think
then
so. The one of the previews is they show Rhaenyra standing in front of Vermithor. So I think
in front of
they
what?
showed in front of Vermithor.
Oh, yeah.
And we had Daemon sing him the little song last season. So I think we're gonna get a important part.
Oh,
I'm very
right.
conflicted on how they're gonna get Hugh and Ulf, that's his name, right?
Ulf the White.
To
Yeah.
Dragonstone to be dragon seeds when they're in King's Landing.
Yeah.
That's confusing for me. I think it's going to be Corlys or Jace's idea to start getting the other dragons to be ridden.
Yeah. In Fire and Blood, it's mushrooms. idea,
Yeah.
and then Jace's idea.
Yeah.
That gets kind of run out there. Is there confirmation we're not going to get Nettles? Do we not know?
I fully believe that we will get Nettles. I just have
Okay.
to believe it.
So I think we'll get Dragon Seeds. I think we'll start to see the army come together for Harrenhal. I don't know. In this episode, the Blackwoods lamely made Daemon promise that he'd go take care of the Brackens first before they committed.
But it's like, didn't you kill them all already? Like we all saw that battle. We saw the
also
aftermath. Who's left?
It also seems a point of pride that they wouldn't ask for somebody else to take out the Brackens.
Yeah,
but
I hate it.
I didn't
As a
love
proud Bracken voter, you
Yeah.
should not be vouching for the Blackwoods.
That's true. Proud Bracken voters in my Twitter bio for those that are wondering what she's talking about. But I assume we'll see that army come together. Maybe we'll see a little battle where they take care of the Brackens and the army comes. I don't know. But eventually, I think we have to see the South start mobilizing too. They send for maybe they'll skip that whole storyline. I don't know. But I think they've hinted that Darren's around.
Yeah, Darren's. I don't think they'll skip it. Yeah, I think that'll come together. Otto will probably come back. We know that Otto's brother comes back from trailers, so the South will be doing something for sure. They have in the trailer they have Melee's head being paraded through the city.
Yeah,
and that is straight out of the book. That is exactly what they do. Their propaganda, and then Aegon being sort of like snuck in a crate so no one can see how badly wounded he is because they don't want to show the crown weak.
Yep.
So that'll be, an interesting conversation. And then obviously Aemond taking power. All of this season,
It'll be interesting to see how much time they give to that.
Yeah.
Whether it's fast or whether it takes conversations and convincing or whether it's like how much time do they spend on all of that?
Yeah. And will Rhaenys body be retrieved? There probably isn't one.
Yeah, I doubt they spend
with that explosion. That's fair. I keep picturing the book anyway.
Yeah.
All of this season I was like, or before the season, I kept thinking it's going to end with Rook's Rest, but I didn't
Oh,
realize how quick it was. Like Rook's Rest is so fast.
it
So
all
I've been
happens
trying to figure
fast.
out where I think it's going to end this season, and I think it's either going to end like with the just like with the gullet and either Aegon getting away
Yeah,
and then everything else sort of going to shit. But I actually think that'll be like the penultimate like big moment for this season is the gullet happening. And it'll either end with like we know the moment in the books where they go out, there's a bunch of people at Duskendale and they go out to try and kill Sunfire and Sunfire flies away or
yeah,
is gone. So I think it might
yep,
end there and just be like, where's the dragon? Or with Rhaenyra actually getting onto the throne in King's Landing.
yeah. Rhaenyra getting onto the throne. There's the battle of the when they marched the army out of Harrenhal down around the west side of the God's Eye, and there's the big
Mhm.
battle there.
Yeah, the fish feed.
They
Yeah.
might get that far.
Yeah, I think they will get that far. I think we'll start to see that in the next couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's 4 left, so
Hmm.
yeah, it's hard to say. Depends on how fast they go through some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. Steph said, I can't predict on the next episode because I absolutely know that from now on it's battle after battle. And how are they going to pace that? Lots of filler to prevent it from getting dull. Who knows? I can't actually tell anything from the teaser trailer. They aren't really showing us much, understandably. So who the hell knows? Dragon Seeds will definitely be soon, though. And we are going to the twins. I forgot about that. They do show the twins in the next trailer.
Hmm.
To spend some time with the worst family in Westeros, only slightly above Craster's, so that should be fun.
Why do we
Yeah.
get the phrase?
I don't
Why?
know. They're not, I don't remember them being in the books much, but if there was a side that was going to side with the Greens, it would probably be the phrase. But I
Sabitha
can't even
comes
remember who
back in and takes
goes.
Harrenhal at some point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I don't know why you'd need to go to the twins for that.
I can't, I feel, I remember them seeing a still of it, but I can't even remember who they're talking to.
Huh, interesting.
Hmm.
Walder's just barely been born.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. He's just a baby. No, no, he's not. No.
Uh, yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Who knows?
Who knows? Okay. Well, I think that's it. We did it
All
in
right.
it's under 2 hours, I think.
Yeah, under 2 hours. Look at us
Look at
go.
us. Yeah. All right. Well, do you have anything that you want to sign off with?
Thanks for having me. It was fun. I hope I was prepared enough.
Yeah, you were great.
It
Thank you.
was it's always fun to talk to you, and uh I hope Steph can come back so you don't have to call up other friends.
I know,
But
right? Thank you.
but
Thank you for
yeah,
jumping in for me. I was
yeah, sure, sure. It was a
stressful.
lot of fun. So I always love talking about this stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad. Yeah, my sign off was just gonna be thanks for joining me. It was super last minute. We were supposed to, Steph and I were supposed to record yesterday morning, and then it was like, nope. So it was a quick turnaround and trying to get it all sorted. But I really, really appreciate your help. And
Absolutely. Yeah, it
hopefully
was fun.
hopefully we
Thanks
have
for
Steph
asking me.
back next week. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
I stopped my Audacity.
I have not ended the recording yet 'cause I can't remember
Oops.
how.